For those of you who don't know, my name is Ryan Brooks. I work at Murray State University. I've been one of the Chi Alpha pastors there for about 10 years. And this is Go Big or Stay Home, raising money for missions. And that has really become one of my passions, is to see all of our students go on mission trips. We go on mission trips every year, sometimes twice a year. And I hate the excuse of, I can't afford it. I don't ever want to hear it. So we do some really large fundraisers, which we'll get into. But I would really love to see Chi Alphas across the nation, money to never be an issue for any student to go anywhere. Whether you're going on a 24-hour flight to Thailand and it costs $1,000 just for airfare, or you're going to Idaho and the whole trip is going to run you about $25. I don't ever want money to be an issue for any of you in this room or anybody listening, or just Chi Alpha across the board. I believe that what we do when we go on mission trips is so important that why should money be an issue? So first off, just a couple of foundational things. Biblically, the Bible talks a lot about sowing and reaping, and this principle, this farming principle of what you put in the ground, you get more back. You don't get just little tiny seeds back, but you get the whole tree or the whole fruit or the whole crop. And so the Bible talks a lot about whatever you put in the ground, you reap more. And in Luke, it talks this. Luke 6:38, and I'm going to read out a New Living mostly today. Give and you will receive. Your gift will return to you in full, pressed down, shaken together, to make room for more, running over and poured into your lap, which sounds okay. The amount you give will determine the amount you get back. So in terms of fundraising, whatever you put into your fundraiser, you're going to get more back than that. And so if we host a big, massive, citywide fundraiser and everybody knows about it and our whole campus is all excited about it and everybody in our Chi Alpha group is working together on it, that's going to net you a whole lot more money than a few people grabbing some poster board, hey, does anybody have a marker, and going and doing a car wash. Okay? It takes no planning. It takes no skill. It takes no know-how whatsoever by anybody. Just go get a rag and move it around over there in that direction. And so, in my opinion, some of these sowing and reaping principles that the Bible talks about really apply to our fundraisers and the size and scope of them. And Luke 6 is just one example. In my opinion, little itty-bitty events net just little tiny nickels and dimes for your mission trips. And you can't go anywhere on nickels and dimes. If you have a bake sale, you probably have to sell over 100,000 cookies in front of your Walmart to go anywhere. And so let's take the size and scope of these things and blow it huge so that when you have a bake sale, you can actually make some money, so that when you have a fundraiser, you can actually go somewhere instead of 90% coming out of your pocket and 10% coming from your fundraising. I really am starting to believe the bigger the event, the more that goes into it, the more time, the more effort, the more money even that's sunk into it on the front end, the more payoff in the back end. Because biblically, we see the sowing and reaping principle. And so you can even take something like a little tiny bake sale. If you guys have a bunch of people in your groups that are really great at baking, well, then you can turn your bake sale into a big thing and get everybody involved. You go to Office Depot and get some iron-ons and make a little logo that says Chi Alpha Bakes, or what the name of your group loves to bake. And so all of you have the same t-shirt. Now you're all branded in front of your Walmart. Everybody's like, wow, this is the biggest bake sale I've ever seen. Get out my wallet here. Make some cards, explain who you are. Just put the more thought, the more time, the more effort, the more people you involve in your fundraisers, the more you're going to net on the backside. Blow up your bake sale on Facebook and Twitter. Have a Facebook event. We all know how to create a Facebook event. We all know how to work Facebook. So use it to your advantage. So your entire network now knows that you're going to be selling the same 5-cent cookies in front of Walmart, but now everybody knows that you're raising money for missions and you're going to be in front of Walmart. Get on your Twitter and tell everybody, hey. And so now all of a sudden you have this little card that explains, hey, this is not just a little tiny bake sale, but we're raising money for missions. We're going to and if you have a trip in mind, you already know what you're going to be doing there, talk to your campus pastor, say, hey, what are some of the things, put it on the card, then all of a sudden people are willing to pay $5 for a cookie instead of 25 cents. Just because they think, wow, these people have it together. And instead of selling little tiny Rice Krispie treats, one Rice Krispie treat at a time for $5, you could even bake a whole cake. And all of a sudden people see this is something big, these people have it together, there's a lot of organization here. This group, you know, if you have a group of 25, you can probably get 10 or 15 of them to show up at Walmart. And they all have the same t-shirt on, but it all says baking for missions or whatever you want to call it. Please don't take my bake sale for Jesus seriously. That's just so you guys can get the concept. But you can blow up any event, gigantic. When we do car washes, we make between $300 and $600 because everybody has a job. The same guy washes the right front fender all day long. The same person who's real outgoing and excited about missions and what we're doing hands the card to the person inside the window. And we say, hey, take a few minutes while we're washing your car, read that, and then you can pay us when we're done. Okay, so while they're sitting there and we're spraying their windows and washing them all off and everybody's all organized and the same guy's been washing the windshield all day long, the same 3 people who are really excited, extroverts, are out on the corner. Okay, don't put your shyest people out there on the corner. Find something that they're comfortable with, where their giftings are, and have them do something. Make them wash the bumper all day long. Put your people where their giftings are, and then you can, with some organization and some thought and some planning, you could even make your signs actually look nice and readable out on the corner if you really got into it. Most car wash signs, was that a car wash or just somebody getting money? So with a little bit of thought and a little bit of planning, a little bit of organization, you can blow your fundraisers up. Even a car wash that usually just makes $100 or $200, you can come away with 6 or 7. And you know, you never know who's driving down the street and they see car wash for missions out on the corner, and they're pulling in there and writing you a $1,000 check. You don't know. But the people who don't take the time to have a little card explaining what you're doing so people can get excited with you, they're never going to get a $1,000 donation because it says $5 car wash out on their sign. So they've already cut their legs off at the $5 mark per car. You don't even give people the opportunity to give you a $1,000 check. And we've seen stuff like that happen, so that's why I bring it up. Next, I really believe that it's in God's best interest for all of us to go on mission trips. It's kind of a selfish thing for him. So if he funds all of our mission trips because he wants us all to go, all he's waiting, a lot of times in my opinion, all he's waiting for is for us to just ask. And a lot of times we get so busy with our piddly bake sales and our car washes, and we're working our knuckles to the bleeding point, trying to raise money for missions, that we don't even think, oh, maybe I'm going on this trip for Jesus, maybe he would be interested in making a donation himself. And so when you take a moment to stop and ask and say, Lord, we believe that this is where you want us to go this year, we're excited about going, and this isn't just on the group level. I think you should have group prayer asking Jesus to fund all of you, but personally too, you should spend some time. Jesus do miracles in the money so that the money will come in. I really believe that he wants to be asked. Listen to this. This is Philippians 4:6. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he's done. So there's probably been some things in your past. If you're such a new Christian that you haven't seen God move in your checkbook yet, you will, because he loves to do that. So as you're asking God, God, please do some miracles in the I want to go on this mission trip. I believe you want me to go. Jesus, help pay for it. Thank him for the things he's done financially for you in the past. Remind him, like the Israelites did often, thank you so much for saving our lives and getting us through the Red Sea. Now let's see the next miracle. And so thank God for, God, it is so awesome how you came in at the very last moment and paid my tuition this semester. It was great. I need some more help in the area of finances. I want to go on the mission trip this year. We've only got 3 months, and my pastor needs the money as soon as possible for the just ask Jesus and he'll help you. In Psalm 50, it isn't specifically talking about money, but in Psalm 50, God says that he owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. Has anybody else read that before? It's pretty awesome. I really enjoy Psalm 50. And he's not saying, I really love ranching. Okay? What he's saying is, he is so rich you cannot fathom. Anyone back then reading Psalm 50 would have not been able to fathom the cattle on 1,000 hills. Okay? And prices have changed a little bit, but I looked it up the other day. Cattle are going for anywhere around $200 a pound in some places. So God was saying, I'm rich. I'm so rich. I don't have any need of any. He was saying, I don't need any of your sacrifices. I don't need any help from any of you. I'm doing just fine all by myself. And later in Psalm 50, after he says, I own the cattle on 1,000 hills, he says, cry out to me when you're in need, and I will come and rescue you, and you will give me glory. So God's saying, listen, when you need help going on a mission trip, cry out to me, ask for help. I will miraculously do things to help you go on your mission trip, and then you will glorify me because you'll be able to tell everybody on the mission trip and your whole family and friends who don't know Jesus yet. Man, it is amazing how quickly and how effortlessly money came in for this mission trip. God did miracles. Listen to all these things. And so God promises you in Psalm 50, when you need help, you ask, he delivers, and he gets the payoff. It's in his best interest to fund our mission trip. So ask God. Also, is you can write a letter to your Uncle Bob, an actual piece of paper with writing on it, I've found is best. I have people who support me at this point only because they've gotten a newsletter from a past mission trip, and they're excited about what God is doing through me. And you guys have the same opportunity, but so many times that is kind of a lost art. We just don't do that anymore. But it's been my experience that most of the people that have a lot of money really appreciate a handwritten note that explains where I'm going, what I'm doing. And so you can ask people who are Christians, you can ask people who are non-Christians. That humanitarianism is so big in the world today, just doing good for other people, that I've had people support me who didn't have the first clue about Jesus anything, but they thought it was really awesome that I was going to go help kids in this village. So they're like, well, I'll give you a check. There's some, even the pass along value. If you start doing this, most of my family are not Christians, and so I started doing this every quarter, every 3 months. I started writing a letter to a bunch of friends and family saying, this is what's going on with me, love you guys, so that once a year when I needed money, I could also say, hey, the mission trip's coming up. Instead of just the only time they ever get a handwritten note from me is because I'm trying to get them to write a check. So my stepfather, who's not a Christian, he thought this was really cool that I was doing this, and so he showed his boss, who's a multimillionaire, owns an insurance conglomerate. Turns out this guy's a Christian. This guy supported me every single trip I've gone on since. I don't know him. I had never met him. I'd never heard of his name before. Last time I was back home, he took me to his golf club, and we had, the meal probably cost more than my mission trip that he supported me on. But I had no clue, and it was just because of my letters explaining things to my family, and my stepdad thought, I bet my friend would really like this, because I think he's a Christian. So it turns out this guy's a Christian and a leader in his church, and he's supported me ever since just because of a handwritten letter. Now, just like Psalm 50, don't forget to thank those people when they do give you money. You can't write a thank you note to every single car who comes through your car wash or everybody who buys a Rice Krispie treat, obviously. But if you handwrite letters to friends and family and they send you money, in my opinion, the best way to thank them is to buy a postcard from wherever you're at, in Scotland or Idaho or wherever you are, and you don't even have to mail it you don't even have to try to figure out the postal system in faraway Botswana. Bring those postcards back home. Every place sells postcards, even Botswana. Bring them back home, write, hey, thank you so much. This is one of the things that happened on our trip, or I got to talk to this many people, or I prayed with lots of people, or man, this mission trip was real. I helped the people, but I think it changed me even more than it helped them. Whatever you want to say. But people don't do this anymore. And so when someone gets a postcard from the mission trip thanking them, handwritten on the back with an actual like lick-it stamp on the back, they become repeat customers. These people think, wow, this person, not only did I hear about what they were planning to do, but I got a handwritten, like they actually took time out of their schedule to thank me. You can bet next year, if possible, they're going to give again. And so you want to even take this newsletter writing thing and blow it up big. And it really doesn't take that long to write a postcard or to write a newsletter on the front end. I got to the point where I was sending about 150 of these letters out every single year, and it just got overwhelming. And so I went online. Now you can even do it for free. I made a font in my own handwriting. So I was just trying to make it even as personal as possible, even though they were, just photocopies at this point. But I spend about $80 to $100 with postage every year, sending out, or every 3 months, I spend about $80. And so we go back to this sowing and reaping principle. I'm putting $80 in the ground. That's my seed. And people send me checks every single month at this point because of these newsletters. So write things down for real. And when you try to do things excellently like that, I really believe that God honors what He's already said in the Word, and He helps you reap more than you've sown. Okay, next point. You do you. It's really easy for you to see someone else in town doing a fundraiser, and you're like, man, I've got to do that. And that can turn out to be just as big of a train wreck as one pastor seeing another pastor on TV who's really successful and thinking, man, I'm going to talk like him. Well, God hasn't called me to talk like that guy. God has called me to do me. And so fundraising works the same way. Here's what I do, just so you can see. I'm a runner. I've been a runner for years, and so at one point we were looking for something to do that was big, a huge event to raise lots of money, and there were a lot of runners in my groups. A lot of my students were runners too. We all drove all over the place doing these running events, and we thought, man, we've all done tons of these events. Let's see if we can do one here in Murray. So we started the Run for Another 5K. This year is our 5th year. And at this point, we're raising around $10,000 probably gross with our 5K because it's one of the largest in town. We have 300 runners every single year. We have goodie bags. We have our students on every single corner. I mean, you can see people running there in the snow. We've had horizontal rain at the finish line. I mean, it's a huge, huge event in Murray. Everybody in Murray supports us. There's a bank in their charter statement. It talks about atheism. They support our race because they see excellence and they want their name to be on the back of our shirt. And so they support us just because they get 5K. They get 5Ks. Everybody does 5Ks. But there are lots of 5Ks in Murray that have stopped doing 5Ks at this point long ago because we do it better. We're big, we're huge. We've always, our very first year we had 100 people run. They say you're very successful in the 5K world if you can get 50 people to show up for the first one. But we blew it up huge. It was everywhere. We had atheist banks on the back of our shirt. And so companies like Walmart aren't going to come out and buy a Rice Krispie treat for $500, but they could get behind an even bigger event because they see, man, this thing has some traction. People in the community are behind this. We want our name to be associated with this excellence. And so Walmart supports us at this point. They give us a gift card to buy whatever we need in the store, bananas and supplies. They also just give us a flat-out donation because they believe in what we're doing. I mean, if I listed all of the donors that we have for this thing, you wouldn't believe that they would ever support college students going on mission trips. But at this point, they're not supporting college students going on mission trips. It's bigger than that. They see this big, huge 5K race. They throw money at us because people are flocking to our race because we do world missions. 80% of our proceeds go directly to our students. And so I'm able to give every student who works for an hour at this thing $100. $100 an hour is a pretty good paycheck. If any of us in this room made $100 an hour, we would not be in this room. We would be somewhere else making $100 an hour. So the next few minutes, we're going to talk about how to do big events. I'm talking about bigger than car washes, bigger than bake sales on your campuses, you guys doing it. And it's not a difficult thing to do. But here's the first step, is you have to take your temperature. Okay, you've got to take the temperature of your group. I took the temperature of my group and found out, hey, we have a lot of runners here. They've all been to lots of events, and they all think that we can do a better job than these. You know, most 5Ks, especially at universities, are somebody at the starting line taking $20 a head and then saying, go. That's it. And so when I took the temperature of our group, we all realized, hey, we're all runners. We drive 4 hours at a shot to go pay good money to go run in other cities. We can do a better job than this. But if you guys have groups that aren't full of runners, which is very possible, take your temperature. Figure out who's in your group. And this is not at all an exhaustive list, but you can have a group full of runners, you can have a group full of other sporty people, you can have gamers, you can have outdoorsy people, craftsy people, artsy people, just a bunch of scholars, which that's awesome for you. And if you have a group full of just goofballs, I have an idea for that too. And these are just off the top of my head, so we're going to brainstorm and figure out for your groups too. But if you have a group of runners, you can do a 5K or you can do a fun run. If you're sporty, a couple years ago we had a ton of people who were so excited about ping pong, so we did a ping pong tournament. And we had people all over campus, international students turned out in droves to come do our ping pong tournament. So we charged money per head, and then we had a cash prize at the end, and we still had a ton of money left over to support world missions. So we took something as stupid as ping pong. I'm sorry if I offended you and you're a huge ping pong addict. You love it. You can take something as stupid and as little as ping pong and turn it into dollars to go tell people about Jesus. That's what this is. You're taking something silly and mundane as a 5K, they happen every weekend across the United States, and turning it into a revenue stream for missions. If you have a group full of gamers, you can host a LAN party. Charge $10 to play whatever your favorite game is, and then at the end offer a cash prize for whoever wins. You have a bunch of money left over. Have some snacks there, do it up big, tell them all to bring their gaming systems. I mean, some of our groups that are represented at this SALT, I'm sure, have over 100 gaming consoles represented in their groups at their weekly meeting. So take those 100 gaming consoles and turn it into a fundraiser. Have a LAN party. If you got a bunch of outdoorsy, you could do a lawn service. You mow lawns all summer long while you're not doing something else. And obviously you need a job during the summer too. So take a chunk of the proceeds of your lawn business and give it to your Chi Alpha. Take another chunk, put it directly into your missions account. And take another chunk and live off of it for the summer. You can make so much money mowing lawns in the summer. It's stupid and mundane, just like ping pong, but you can turn it into missions money. You know, a lot of people do hunting and fishing where I'm from in Kentucky. If you have a bunch of outdoorsy hunting, fisherman type people, you could very easily start a guide service. These are just off the top of my head. If you have a bunch of crafty people, do pre-made scrapbook pages and sell them during the holidays. People who, you know, moms who don't have time to look like a Pinterest mom, but they really want to, can buy your pre-made scrapbook pages, plop their own pictures on there, and boom, 5 minutes they got a scrapbook page that looks awesome, and it's made by your group, and you guys are making money off of them. But again, you have to take your temperature. If I did pre-made scrapbook pages at my group, it would be an epic fail. It would not happen, because all of the runners and outdoorsy guys in my group would turn out pages that we would have to pay people to please take this nasty scrapbook page away. So take your temperature, find out where you're at, where your strengths lie, and go with that. If you have a bunch of people who are really talented and artistic, do an art auction every year. And I keep saying every year because I hope these things turn into an every year kind of thing. People like annual stuff because they know, hey, the Run for Another 5K is coming up. I'm going to do that again. And last year was so good, I'm going to invite 10 people to go with me. So if you do pre-made scrapbook pages, maybe you can start doing it every single year. It's the annual Chi Alpha pre-made scrapbook page sale. You can all get shirts made with that on it. Start a tutoring service if you have a bunch of scholars. The last one, has anybody heard of forking or yard flamingoing? Okay, it's kind of an outdated 90s idea, but I think we could really bring it back in force. If you have a bunch of goofballs in your group who love to run around at night and cause trouble, which we all do, all of you are thinking of someone right now probably, turn it into a fundraiser. You fork the first person's yard, they come out in the morning, they have 10,000 plastic forks stuck in their grass, and a sign on their door that says to have the forks removed, it's $15. To get us to fork someone else, it's $25. And for a combination of forks and yard flamingos, it's $50, but you can really get them good. So you can turn the stupidest things into fundraisers, but now instead of coming out and they're like, I cannot believe that I have to come out here and clean up all these forks. Instead, they come out, wow, what a creative idea. I can't believe a bunch of goofballs are going on a mission trip. So you can turn anything into a mission trip fundraiser. But take your temperature, figure out where you're at. And because there's a nice group here, we can kind of do this. I want to go over, because I don't want you guys to just go out of here with some vague ideas. I want you guys to think about your groups and how you could actually implement these things. So we're gonna take a few minutes and talk about your groups and the temperature of your groups. So I'd really love to hear from you about where you think you're at, because I would really love to help you with your group specifically, instead of you just going away and saying, well, that guy was a 5K director, I didn't get much out of it. So anybody want to go first, and we'll jump into are you guys all from the same school right there? Can we help you for a minute? Okay. What's your temperature? Yeah, if you're a bunch of goofballs, don't be scared. You can say goofballs. I mean, we got something for that. Okay. 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 What are you currently doing? Is it just everybody has to pay 100% for their mission trip because your fundraisers are so bad? Is that why you're here? Or? Okay. Okay. Well, that's why we're here. That's what obviously that's why you guys came, because you don't have anything. You know, if you have a bunch of people who are good at school, I think tutoring is such an easy. It's difficult to tutor well, but anybody can do it if they with a little bit of training. They can learn to train someone else to do what they're good at, and that's something that. I mean, I have a friend who has a tutoring service on our campus. He's a campus pastor for another group, but he has a tutoring service on our campus where he employs 10 or 15 students at Murray State to do all the tutoring, and it's such a cash cow at this point that he's just managing the whole thing. So tutoring, I mean, if you have a bunch of those kinds of intelligent people, musically, yeah. So I mean. Piano lessons, instrument lessons, voice lessons especially I mean, that's like $20 an hour. I mean, you can split the difference. You know, if you're looking for a job on campus, you can take $10 an hour for yourself, and $10 an hour goes into your mission trip fund. The land parties, when I was coming up with the list, I was like, man, that's a really good idea. And we don't do anything like that, but, you know, gamers may not be willing to pay money for much, but they are always willing to pay money to play games, because some of those console games are ridiculous, and especially if you can find one that has just come out. And so if a new game comes out and you can host a LAN party, bam, everybody's on. Every gamer on campus is like, have you heard about the Chi Alpha LAN party? It's awesome. They've got the brand new whatever game. I'm not a gamer, so I don't even know any of the names of any of them to give you an example. But a LAN party, you know, it's so easy for people to think, wow, it's only 10 or 15 bucks, but I could win 150 if I win. And all gamers think they're the best. So, you know, you got that going for you. And that leads right into question number 3. What's an event you could do over and over again, annually or biannually? That a LAN party can be done over and over. But with any of these ideas, you have to try to do them organized. You don't want people to just come and be like, I'm never going to come to that again. Somebody won 150 bucks, but it was totally lame. So it takes some people who are talented in terms of administration and getting things organized. And my first 5K was a sloppy mess. I mean, people loved it. It was great. But behind the scenes, I mean, everything fell apart. It was awful. But I learned so much from that first year that the second year and third year and now fifth year, I mean, at this point, it takes me probably half of the time that it did that first year because I'm so good at, this is my 5th year. I've done it over and over and over again. And you can add tiers of excellence to how you started because now you have a bigger budget than when, I mean, we roll over money from our last 5K to put the next one on. And we net about 10 grand every year, but we also put about $2,000 into it. So we're putting, like I talked about in the very beginning, we're putting a lot of seed into the ground. We're putting money, we're putting time, expertise, students, all of these businesses, all of the time it takes to organize it. You can't get a huge, massive event without some front loading on the front end. Anybody else? You want to take your temperature? Talk about your group. Okay. Are you hedging? You're thinking about it?
I'm just trying to think of something that encompasses everybody because we actually, we're incredibly blessed this year and we went from about 40 to 100. So it's kind of hard to put a specific temperature on our group because it's so all over the place.
Okay. Well, here's how it worked for us, and it may not be the case for everybody. We have our large group meetings 5 years ago were probably running 180. Of that, maybe 10 were part of the running core that I went and did all these races with all over town. But that was enough people that were excited about doing this thing that all of the other people got excited about doing this thing. Obviously, you're not going to have a group of 25 or even 50 or 100 who are all really good at scrapbooking pages. But maybe the accounting majors can handle the money end of scrapbooking pages. And I mean, you can take all of your efforts and put them all together. So you don't have to have 100 people who are all really good at making scrapbook pages. You have to have 15, or you have to have 5. It depends on the size of your group, the size of your event. But please don't take away that, oh man, well that's not going to work because we only have 5 people who are really good at hunting or fishing. So your whole group can get, when they, after that, especially after that first year when they all saw, hey, we're making a lot of money with this thing, even people who have never run 4 steps in their life were like, man, our 5K is awesome. And so then they go out on campus and they're like, man, you guys missed a crazy cool event. Next year, you guys got to be there. It's awesome. It's for missions. And this guy who's spreading the word about our event, making $25 per runner, has never run at all, but he sees the potential now. So when you take your temperature, you don't have to necessarily figure out where everybody's at because you're not all. Hopefully, your Chi Alpha groups are so diverse, like yours, that you have a lot of people who are math majors and music majors and different things. So you can take these questions back too, and like I said at the beginning, I really hope that at your next leadership meeting you can take some of these ideas and say, hey, let's take start with number 1. What's the temperature? Where's there a core of people that we can use their excitement or their expertise to build off of? And then how could we improve the fundraisers we're already doing? Everybody does car washes and bake sales probably. And so take some of these ideas about car washes and bake sales, make your next one so organized, so well put together that everybody in town is talking about, hey, I went to that car wash and this time my car was actually clean. Because car washes at Pizza Hut are infamous for they're not even good. So, but when you have one person whose whole job all day long is to do the front left fender, it gets easier. Nobody comes away and that door right there wasn't washed because it was somebody's specific job to wash that door all day long. And so everybody's car gets clean. You'd be amazed how many cars we can pump through that car wash because it's so much faster and people aren't like, oh, did you get the windshield? Oh, I don't know, did you do it again? So you're not wasting time. So even car washes can be ramped up huge with just a little bit of organization on the front end. Go to Office Depot and have them print your signs. They do architectural signs on a big architectural printer for pennies. They're called architectural copies. Put that on your poster board. Make it big and bold and legible so that people can actually see when they drive by, and it's not just a bunch of yahoos on a street corner. That these guys, that's interesting. I'll pull in there. Maybe my car will look as nice as their sign did. So we'll get to excellence in a little while. And then lastly, what's an event we could do over and over and over again? We talked about that. And before we move on to this, are there any questions so far about anything we've talked about? Pretty self-explanatory stuff. And I'll give all of you my contact info too, because I really am passionate about this, and I would love for all of our groups, nationally and internationally, to say that fundraising was not an issue anymore. But sadly, that's not the case. It's always an issue. In every group, it's an issue. And I think that's because we've been doing fundraising the wrong way. We've been doing fundraising one Rice Krispie treat at a time. And unfortunately, that does not pay for mission trips unless people get a little card and they realize that that Rice Krispie treat is more than a 25-cent Rice Krispie treat. That Rice Krispie treat could send someone on a mission trip to change someone else's life. They get excited about it. Hey, now I'm going to pay you $20 for that Rice Krispie treat that took 3 cents to make. Lastly, this is probably this may be the biggest point of the day, because the last section is called Be Excellent, and I have found that all of us are drawn to excellence. So whenever you see something done excellently, you want to be a part of that. That's exactly why Walmart supports our race. People saw it excellent the first year, even though it was a train wreck behind the scenes. They saw an excellent thing. They came back again the next year. It was even more excellent the next year. So then Walmart sees, wow, we want our name to be attached to that excellence. Okay? And anything you do, if you do it with excellence, people will want to jump on board. I have like youth and nonprofit leadership students on our campus calling saying, hey, can I volunteer at your event now? Who aren't a part of Chi Alpha. I mean, they need the service hours, but they could do the service hours anywhere, in the math department or anywhere else. But they call our 5K because it's the biggest thing in town, and everybody knows that Run for Another's every March, and we've been doing it for 5 years, and so we have some traction now. And that's what happens at your land party or at your pre-made scrapbooking page party, or when you do these things over and over and over again, once or twice a year, you start to see this snowball effect, and people see the excellence over and over and over again, and they want to jump on board. That we know of, God has only ever commissioned the building of one building, but this is where it talks about it in Exodus 25, 8, and 9. This is God talking, and he says, then have them make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them. Make this tabernacle and all its furnishings exactly like the pattern I will show you. And for the rest of and this is Old Testament, so the chapters are long. For the rest of 25 and 26 and 27 and 28 and 29 and chapter 30 in Exodus is line by line how to build his building. God did not give them a sloppy idea and just say, run with it, guys. I mean, God told them down to what kind of wood to use for the door handles in this building. And in my opinion, it's because God does things excellently. Some of us are attracted to God just because of His excellence. People get born again, I'm convinced of this. People get born again because they see God's excellence. When they see, wow, that guy does things right. That's how I got born again. A guy told me how much God had cleaned up his life, and I wasn't near as messed up as that guy was, and I thought, man, if he can do that for that guy, think about what he could do for me. And so I gave my life to Jesus just because I wanted Him to make me excellent like I saw Him making that guy excellent. People are drawn to excellence. And, you know, this is something that we have really lost over the years. This is something I call the cathedral concept. You used to go into a church where we all know God does not live, but this is a manifestation of God on the earth, the church, okay? You used to go into a cathedral and have this wow effect. I mean, you would go in and just the building, there's nobody preaching. You don't even have to have any Christians in the building. You just go into the building and you're like, oh, what is behind this? This is my favorite cathedral I've ever been in. This is St. Bavo's in Amsterdam. You can imagine being in Amsterdam that this is not very full each week. Their culture is very, very post-Christian at this point. But you walk into this building and you're just, I mean, floored by the excellence. I mean, they've got a giant red organ for... it's just an amazing building. All of the woodwork, I mean, you can barely make it out up there. All the woodwork in the ceiling is groove and notch wood laid together by artisans over years and years and years. I mean, there is excellence in every corner of this building. And just like our fundraisers, I think God really desires the same kind of excellence. And it's funny, when you go after excellence, you realize it takes more people. And so everyone in your group is involved. It builds unity and friendships, and everybody's behind this thing. Everybody at Run for Another at my 5K every year, everybody's behind this thing, and we're excited about it. It's excellent. Everybody on campus knows it's excellent. It's way beyond campus at this point. Our whole town knows about our 5K raising money for missions. People drive in from hours away to come run 3 miles with us. I mean, it's stupid, but they do. And I'm convinced it's because we won't cut corners. Now, obviously, you have to decide where you want to make money and where you want to spend money and be, you know, if you buy a $25 shirt and give each runner a $25 shirt and the entry fee is $25, you've been very excellent, but you've lost money. So you have to figure out, you know, those numbers. But when you are excellent, people will be attracted to not only your fundraiser, but to the Jesus that you represent. You know, I had a couple pictures of the tabernacle that Exodus explains, but there's not a single picture online or anywhere in Christendom that does it justice. I mean, every wall was plated with gold and bronze and silver, and the cedar trees were so massive. I mean, you just can't even imagine how awesome and how excellent this building was. So I decided not to do the injustice of trying to show you a poor artist's rendition of the building that God built. But if we were able to walk into that building today, none of us would think, I don't want to have anything to do with whoever's behind this. We would all think, what happened here? And what happened was 153,000 people took 7 years to build a building. And I think our fundraisers should be the same way. They're representing the same Jesus. And so when we go after our fundraisers with the same idea, with this excellence, you can apply this tabernacle cathedral excellence onto something as silly as a bake sale. And when you think, we want to make this bake sale maybe you have a group of 10. You can't do a massive, huge, people in Chicago are going to drive all the way down to Alabama to come to your fundraiser. If you have a group of 10, you can do what you can do and do it excellently. And I'm convinced that God is so excellent that when he sees excellent, he decides to get on board too. And so when we do things excellently down here in his name, trying to represent him well, because we realize he's an excellent God to be represented, I think he thinks, wow, that is the most phenomenal car wash ever in the history of car washes. I'm going to send that guy over. The founder of Walmart should drive through there today. And I mean, you have no idea who's going to come through your car wash and see how excellently you've done a car wash. And their car is actually clean, which is the end result of a car wash. And when people see excellence, they're willing to pay for it. From clothes to computers to car washes, when things are done excellently, people pay for it. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish today, is we're trying to raise money for mission trips. And so you want people to be willing to pay you for whatever service you're providing, whatever bake sale, whatever 5K, whatever land party, whatever you do, do it with excellence and people will jump on board. I guarantee it. It's a concept that God is behind, and when he sees it happen, when he sees us do things excellently, he dumps money on it. It's just how it works. In today's money, the tabernacle that he commissioned and built cost well over $500 million. And that's just for the gold and silver. You can't count how much the wood cost, because the king paid the other king 20 cities to pay for the wood. Our concept of excellence is down here under my feet. And God's paying $500 million for a building to represent him. And so maybe this has nothing to do with fundraising whatsoever, but I'm very passionate about doing things excellently. And if we can't do my 5K excellently, and I'm just going to go out there and say, go! Thanks for your money. I probably won't be here when you get back. I don't have any interest in doing it, because people know that's the Christian 5K, and they're going to associate the lack of excellence with my God. I haven't represented him well. But they will dump money on stuff where they see excellence happening. I guarantee that to you. My favorite quote on excellence: excellence only happens on purpose. You have to try to be excellent. God did not say, go build me a building, and it just, 7 years later, it happened. He was very much on purpose, administrated the building of that building, and it turned out excellent at the end because of his plans. If you try to build a building without blueprints, you'll get a building that falls over. If you try to do a fundraiser without a plan, or without some administration, without some excellence being dropped into it, you will end up with a fundraiser who flops on its face, that falls over. You can't do it. So there's that. Here's a quick little idea for you. The Korea booth is giving away $250 for any mission trip. So in my opinion, that's one of the best fundraisers you can do. It will cost you 3 minutes. It's right around the corner. They're here giving away $250 to a mission trip. So it would be silly. And I don't know how many people even know about that, because if they don't read her sign, they don't even have any idea. So I decided to give you guys the one-up there. But if you want to win the money for yourself, don't tell anybody. And you guys can fight over it. But if you're really excited and you want somebody on your campus to get blessed, then go tell your whole campus. It's ridiculous. She's giving away $250 to go on a mission trip for liking her Facebook page. So spend the 10 seconds and win $250. So there's that. Any questions before we wrap up? And I'll be here for a little bit too, so if you have something you don't want to share with everybody, that's fine too. But I really appreciate all of you guys coming, and I hope that your fundraisers, through prayer and through planning and excellence, I hope that this year can be kind of a catalyst year where they'll just explode. Everybody will be like, man, 2014, that's really when that LAN party started, and it's huge now. Even people who aren't gamers are coming. So thanks for coming, guys.